Hello, what's up guys? Welcome to another video, and today we're gonna create this epic scene. Let's jump into Blender, enable the ambient occlusion, enable bloom, screen space reflection and motion blur. We're gonna change the bloom, the threshold to 2.7 and the radius to 5.7. Right, now while we're at it, we're gonna change the color management right here, change the look to high contrasts. To make the animation look perfectly, we have to change the setting. Go to edit preferences, go to animation and set this to linear. Most likely it's gonna be set to Bezier right now. We're gonna add all geometry nodes. And straight away we're going to delete the group input. We don't need that one. We're going to start off with a grid. And let's connect this to the group output. It's way too small, so let's make it a little bit bigger, 60 by 50. Straight away we're going to have some problems when it's going to get even bigger. So we're going to change the viewport. Gonna add an extra 0 here, and to the camera we're gonna add 2 extra zeros here. Two at the end here, so the camera can see everything that is in the viewport. Otherwise, we're gonna be restricted. All right, let's set the animation straight away. Rotate the camera on the y-axis, bump it a bit up, move it on the x-axis by 30, so it's at the start. Add a keyframe. We're gonna set all end keyframe to 120. Go to the end, add one extra frame and change this to -30. And add a keyframe. Rotate it on the x-axis by 90. Yeah, that's better. Right. Now it's looping. Let's add the plane to an instance. And I'll call this all round. And we're gonna add a bunch of instances. Collection instance ground. And move it by -60, GX -60. Right, that's enough for now. So let's get back to our geometry nodes. We want a texture displacement on this. And to do this, we need a set position node. We're gonna add a noise texture displacement. For the displacement, we need a mid-level and a strength. That will be our two math nodes, which will be subtract and multiply. Then we're gonna add a combine XYZ, and we're gonna displace it only into the Z-axis. Okay. Add this to the offset, bump up the strength. I'll set it to 20, and there you can see it. Right, we want to loop this, but how can we loop this? How can we loop the animation so that the end frame is the same as the first frame? So I have a little technique that I found online from Arendelle. Shout out to him. He's very professional with geometry nodes. If you have any questions about geometry nodes, ask him. and let's get to it. So let's add a combine XYZ node, and we're gonna add this to the W. And now we need a bunch of math nodes, 3 actually. Assign, duplicate that one, duplicate that one. We need a cosine as well. Right, gonna connect the sine to the X, sine to the Y, sine to the Z, and then a separate XYZ node. Connect this. Go. And add the vector math node. Change this to scale. And our last math node is divide for our animation. It's to divide, plug it into the vector. We're gonna change the scale to tau, which is twice pi. And then here we're gonna change, we have 120 frames, so let's change this to 120 and change this to 1200. Insert a keyframe, go to the end, add an extra keyframe, insert a keyframe and go to middle, which is 60, and change this to 2400. Insert a keyframe. Now we can see that the first frame and the last one is exactly the same. But we can also see that there's an animation going on, so it's perfectly looping, which is exactly what we want. Before it's getting very cluttered here, we're gonna do some organization. So this is our texture displacement. Control J to add a frame. So change this to texture displacement. Alright, so what I want is I want a path in the middle that is not displaced. So we need to take that out of the selection. Do that, we need a few math nodes. First of all, we need the position. We're gonna connect this to a separate XYZ because we want to take out the Y. I'm gonna go into the Y, we will see it in a moment. And then a math node, change this to less than the Y. And I'm gonna set this to -3. Let's put this into the selection. So now you can see that this is the middle, this is our -3. It's taking this out of the path, but we also want to do this on the other side. So how do we do that? We add a second math node, change this to greater than, and change it to 3 instead of -3. Connect the Y value. Now we're gonna add both of these with the add node, math node. Plug them in and put them into the selection. And now we have our nice path. We can see we're going along a path. Which is exactly what I wanted. Alright, so we're gonna add a frame for this one as well. Control J. Call this our grid. To make it more interesting, I want to add the same triangles like the displaced planes, but with a wireframe. So how can we do that? We need a second set position node. We'll plug our grid to the geometry. And we add a mesh to curve. Connect them and then curve to mesh. Connect to the curve, and we need a circle curve to the profile curve and connect these with join geometry. Alright, so now we can see a wireframe is way too big. Go to Alright, that's nice, but it's not displaced yet. We need to plug in our displacement into the offset, but now it's displaced in the middle as well, so we need to plug in our selection as well. Alright, now we have a nice wireframe. We want to have them add a different material, so we're gonna add two materials, set materials, one for the wireframe and one for the grid. Let's add two materials. I'll call this grid. The other ones, I'll call them wireframe. Change the grid, set the grid here, set the wireframe here, this to another frame, change it to wireframe. Alright, change this to the shader editor, the render view. Let's change our grid first. I'm gonna add a color ramp. We're gonna add a few colors. I want this to start at red, pinkish, magenta, purple. But at the end, I will go to the green. So let's change this to purple. It's way too blue, purple. Yeah, like that. Change this to light blue. Yeah, like that. And then the last one, I want a bit of greenish. Add a noise texture. Yeah, that's what I wanted. This is more interesting. Yeah, like that. And let's change the wireframe. Oh, let's go back to the grid first. Copy this to the wireframe, paste it. Remove the principal BSDF, add an emission node, connect this to the emission. And I'm gonna change this to 10. Right. Oh, I want to make this scene a bit more interesting. Let's add some lights first. First of all, we have some light here, and we're gonna add that to our instance. I'm gonna change this to the pinkish red. Shift DX, change it to purple. DX at the end, set it to green, bluish. Alright, it's already more interesting. Right, I want to change one more thing into the geometry nodes. Let's select our first plane. What I want to change here is I want to add some random faces to have emission. So first of all, we're going to add two more materials. Both, we're going to add an emission node. I'm going to create change the name of this to purple emission. Change this to 5. Emission. Change this to blue emission. Add an emission node. Set it to blue. set the strength to 5. Go back into the geometry nodes editor. I want a set material. I want a second one. Set them here because this is the grid. We don't need them on the wireframe. I want the purple emission here, the blue emission here. Right, and now we're gonna change the selection to random value. Add this to a boolean with the probability of very low, 0.05. Let's do the selection. Same for the other one. Going wrong with the purple emission. Oh yeah, we have to change the seed. Otherwise it's going to be in the same face. Alright, so just make sure the seeds are different in the random value. Alright, so let's make this even more interesting. Let's add some mountains. So let's Shift D. Make this really big. Alright, something like this. And let's add an icosphere to make it even more interesting. We're gonna scale it up a lot. Highlight. Yeah, that's enough. It's 10. And then I'm gonna add a wireframe modifier. I'm gonna make this very small. Give it the blue emission. Problem is I have it in the ground instance, which is duplicating it multiple times. Need to make it a lot bigger. Want more lines, so what we can we do? We can add a subdivision surface, set it to simple, set it to maybe 4 is too many, 3 seems to be alright, maybe 4, but we're gonna reduce the thickness. That seems to be alright. The mountains are in the front. So we need to make it even bigger. And the camera can't see it. So we add another 0 here, and there we have it. And that's it, guys. And there we have our epic animation. We can render it out, or if you want to have more control over your viewport, you can go to your camera settings, go to viewport display, and change the passepartout so you only see what the end result is going to be like. And that's it. I hope to see you guys in the next video, and please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.